This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
What does America need for the sake of our kids? We'll talk with one of the young voices who is speaking out on that. Neetu Arnold is contributor for the Young Voices and also analyzes public policy for the Manhattan Institute. Neetu, thank you for joining us today on Family Life News.
Thank you so much for having me.
You came to our attention with the opinion piece that you put into the USA Today. The big issue there was called Tiger Moms Are Needed for America. Can you tell us what tiger parenting is as that shapes the cultural need for us these days?
Tiger parenting it's usually seen as excessive involvement in education, and it's primarily prevalent in the Asian community. When I wrote this piece, it was really in response to a much larger discussion that was happening whether America should be turned into a nation of tiger moms. And it was in response to this post that Vivek Ramaswamy made, where he was saying if we wanted better engineers in America, there needs to be more focus on education. It was interesting to see the responses to his big tweet because some people took his message as he wants to get rid of sleepovers. He wants to get rid of sports. He wants to get rid of fun. And that's not exactly what I heard from his post. What I saw was reprioritization towards education. It doesn't mean we have to give up sports or we have to give up fun. Of course, I think the way he messaged that idea could have used some work. One disagreement that I have is just that he pitted people who play sports and those who are into academics against each other. And I actually think they shouldn't be pitted against each other. One of the great things about America is just that we value different skills and we value different paths to success. And both the jocks and the nerds, they're both successful in their own way. And I actually think we should be more concerned about the sort of apathy that's festering in American society, especially around education. The whole point of talking about tiger moms, because that was the term being used, I was thinking we should take the positive elements of tiger moms, which is that they do care about their kids doing well. They do care about academics, but leave the excessive focus on education, forcing your kids into activities they don't care about and these cram sessions, leave that behind and combine it with the American entrepreneurial spirit. I think that would be a force to be reckoned with.
Let's explore kind of if we put you in charge of the education department or setting priorities here, as you have looked into what is successful or what has the biggest payoff for America. There are some folks that are absolutely not interested in school. Some people define it only as let's get our kids to pass the tests and into the best colleges. Help us figure out what is going to be most beneficial for the most people in our culture today.
Well, I think some of the issues are best solved by policy, making sure that our schools are safe so that kids can feel like they're in a good learning environment and they don't feel like they need to disconnect from school, making sure that teachers are able to stay in schools, which again, I think a lot of it has to do with just school safety and whether they can address misbehavior among students. That's where I think policy can address those issues. But some of the things that I was talking about with motivation, that's really a cultural issue. And so I think this has less to do with policy and just more, how do we value different activities? I think something that could be really helpful is if a school community celebrated just as much as they celebrate a football win, they celebrate the math Olympiad or someone who's doing something more academically inclined. And so spreading those social rewards among the school community, I think, could be one way to show that academics also matter too.
We're talking with Neetu Arnold, who is a public policy analyst with the Manhattan Institute. We're talking about what schools can do to help celebrate the band, the choir, the basketball team, the science team. But you're also talking with parents and individuals and communities here. Even, I mean, the schools across America run all the way from absolutely excellent to really, really struggling. But what can parents, what can families do to foster that among not only their own children, but their kids' friends and their classmates?
Well, I think it's just being involved, paying attention to what your kids enjoy, and when they express an interest in an activity, just giving your full 100% support, your encouragement, and maybe just being there for the kid. I think that, I know that sounds very simple, but I think that would make a big difference.
Your article in USA Today in early January was looking at what some other nations, you mentioned China, you mentioned India, how they are promoting some of the STEM things, the science, technology, engineering, math. What's your evaluation of how America is doing for what we need as a nation, what we add to the world, promoting people to develop the skills and the interests our culture will need moving into the rest of the 21st century?
Well, I think there needs to be more attention placed on STEM fields. I see why India and China places so much attention on STEM, and that's why they're producing so many engineers and doctors. On the other hand, I would say that system isn't necessarily better because it doesn't necessarily value individuality or just what people are interested in. And that's what I think is so great about America. It's that we value all kinds of skills, but that's where I think we need better math education. Instead of trying, I see one problem with the way we promote math here. It's just that I think a lot of people are trying to make it more friendly because I guess it scares off kids. And they're not so focused on the teaching as much as they are on just making it fun and accessible. And I actually think we're wasting a lot of kids' time there. I think we should be focusing on just teaching the knowledge. And, from my own personal experience with tutoring kids in math, something I saw was just that a lot of kids would get pushed ahead, even if they hadn't mastered concepts in previous grade levels. And so that's why they felt like they couldn't do math because they couldn't. And until we addressed those issues, that's when they gained the confidence to tackle math problems. And so I think maybe there also needs to be a culture where it's okay that your kid, like every kid is going to be on a different timeline and they're going to achieve things at their own pace. And so maybe it is okay to hold back a child if they haven't mastered certain skills. We shouldn't see that as a problem. I think those are some of the solutions that would help with our math education.
We're talking with Neetu Arnold. Your voice is, I think, in some ways kind of rare. People want to be so kind and nurturing to children, but your point of view, as I hear you saying it, is it's not kind or nurturing to find a student who their basic math isn't up to speed, so let's move them on into algebra. And then if they're not quite there, let's just go ahead and put them in trigonometry. And
Right.
same things could happen in science and literature and everything too, that we need to be effective in teaching and helping them learn so that the sense of accomplishment after you've done the hard stuff, even after you have to loop through that lap several times, you feel so much better about yourself with the accomplishment rather than just being thrown into a even harder brick wall if you just get passed through.
I mean, I think as a culture, we fear struggling. If you see your child struggling, I think that can be a hard thing to see. And yet I think it is kind to help your child. And sometimes you have to make them go through tough things so that they come out feeling a sense of accomplishment. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think it's actually cruel to make a child think that they are prepared for the next grade level, and then you see them struggling and they don't seem to understand why. And it's not really the child's fault in that kind of setup.
You are a great spokesperson for your cause. Tell us a little bit about the work you do in bringing these ideas into the public. You're a contributor with Young Voices. Tell us about that.
Sure. So I am a contributor with Young Voices, and we're an organization that it provides a platform for young writers who are in policy and media to get their ideas out there. And I'm very grateful for the support that I've gotten both in my writing and in these sorts of media appearances from Young Voices. It's allowed me to share the work that I've been doing at the Manhattan Institute, which is a policy think tank based in New York City, though our scholars are all over the country. And we focus on a wide variety of issues, those concerning public safety, quality of life. And in my case, I focus on education. And so both of these organizations have given me a platform to share my research and to hopefully help contribute to a better education, better society in whatever small way I can.
I'd like to hear your own personal story of this. How did you become a specialist in looking at educational systems?
Yeah, I've been interested in education pretty much all of my life. It's very much made a difference for me and my family. My family and I immigrated from India. I was 2 years old when I was brought here, and education was the way my parents were brought out of, I wouldn't call it poverty, but just, hard life circumstances in India. And it's very much something that I value. I'm very close with my mom, and she was an educator when she was in India. And she's very much the reason why I loved going to school and why I loved learning. And I wish everybody had a mom like her, because she's the reason I just love learning. And that's why I love the job that I'm in, because I get to learn something new every day and share it with people. And really, I've been interested in education because I think there are many issues that exist that requires some analysis, that requires research, so that we can offer more opportunities to students and provide more pathways to success.
You can find out more about her commentary on these things. We will link to the USA Today article that Neetu Arnold wrote, How America as a Nation, Our Children and Teens Need More Tiger Parenting to be able to succeed. Neetu Arnold is a policy specialist with the Manhattan Institute. Thanks so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I'm Greg Gillespie, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.